Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite baits. I have won a pile of money on it. It is a bait that I helped design, and I've gotten a lot of questions recently about ways that I like to use it. And specifically, what I'm talking about is the Matt Steffen Signature Series Dirty Jigs Guppy Head. It's a swim bait head that's designed for a lot of different uses, and that's what most people don't realize. Most people just assume that the guppy head has been designed for your swim baits, and in fact it has been. So I want to give you a little bit of background on it. I want to give you some of the uses that I like to use it for, because it's not just a swim bait head. It's a fan favorite of a lot of those out there. It's a Tackle Warehouse bestseller, so there are a pile of people using it. And it never ceases to amaze me how many times I get comments from individuals that inform me of the ways that they're using the jig head. So we're going to get into that, guys. I do want to remind you that you can purchase them at Tackle Warehouse. They actually just got a full stock of them in every size, of every color, of every size hook. So I mean, we offer an 1/8, 3/16 quarter, 3/8 ounce size in both a 1/0 and 3/0 hook, and it comes in 6 different colors. So it's a lot of different SKUs out there, and it's not uncommon for a bunch of them to be sold out. So if you're looking for them, check them out. Plus, they're actually on sale right now too. So depending when you watch the video, they may or may not be, but at the time of filming this, they are in fact on sale. So the guppy head was a bait that I went to Dirty Jigs with, and I said, I want to make a small swim bait head. At the time, I was using just a round ball jig head, as well as a gopher style head that was actually made, or a gopher jig head. So it was a gopher tackle jig head. It was a mushroom style jig head, and that's what I was using for the small swim baits. But this was years ago. This was right as some of the small swim baits started coming out. You know, at that time, Kitech was the first one to have like a 2.8 and 3.3 boot tail swimmer that ran well and caught a pile of fish. So that was the bait that got me thinking about making a small jig head, because the problem I had was, if you went and searched for swim bait heads, it was very difficult to find a legit swim bait jig head that was made for a 2.8 or 3.3 size. There were a lot of jig heads out there, but at that time the craze was like your 3/4 ounce swim baits that you're slow rolling on ledges, not the small little baits that I'm talking about here. So I knew that there was a need for it, because we were starting to see how popular the small swim baits were becoming, and there were not many jig heads. So I went to Dirty Jigs, and the owner at the time told me that he was working on something. So we went through a couple of different designs, and what he ended up doing was taking the head style off of one of his previous jig heads, basically his swim bait head at that time, and we just made it a much more compact head. And then we carried down the cone hook keeper down the side, which allowed us to carry a bunch of the lead down, transfer the weight, allows the bait to swim much better, and therefore is a great design for a small swim bait. From a color standpoint, we tried to match the head design up with a bunch of the other popular Kitech colors, so that you could create something that looked like this and ran really well. And that's where it came from. I mean, we're talking at this point now, it's probably been, I'm gonna say 5 years. I'm not even sure offhand, but it's been a very popular bait. I continue to get amazing feedback from people who love the hook, including myself. I use it for a pile of things. So yes, it was designed at the time for these small swim baits. Now I will say the 2 different sizes, the 1/0 hook I like to use with the 2.8 size, as well as the 3.3 size. But if I'm throwing a 3.3 or larger, I like to throw the 3/0 hook. And you can get away at that 3.3 size with, like I said, a 1/0 or a 3/0. Regardless, it was designed for these guys. What we found out since then is there are some other very popular methods to use this jig head for. One of which is a Demiki style rig. So that's just where you're doing your scrubbing technique. There's a lot of different names, but this is a vertical presentation where you take either like a Fluke Junior like I've got here, or a Demiki Armor Shad, and you're vertical fishing the suspended fish under the boat. It's a very popular technique. My buddy Jeff Gustafson won a tournament. I want to say it was Fort Loudon, I think is the lake it was on. He demolished the field fishing a Demiki technique where he was vertical jigging for smallmouth, and he won by like 10 pounds. I mean, it's a very popular cold water technique, and using a 90-degree jig head with a small straight tail swim bait and vertical fishing it for fish under the boat with very little rod movement is what you do. And this is one of the best jig heads to use for that. Another design that's been amazing is to fish a small worm like this. This is a 4 1/4 inch Berkeley Max Scent flatworm, and to fish it as you would fish a shaky head. Now, I like to fish shaky heads a lot of times for suspended fish in the water column, where I'm throwing this out, engaging my reel, and tight lining the bait back to the boat. I let it free fall, a very slow fall, so you're talking about your 1/8 ounce heads are kind of what you're shooting for. But you can use it for a heavier one, and a lot of guys are just using it for a straight shaky head. You know, it's got a very ball-shaped head design, so you can still fish it in a shaky head manner. And you've got a little bit of a lip right on the front of the bait, which is known to kind of allow to catch a little bit of a rock or the bottom, and allows you to stand the bait up with a little bit of tension on your line, and it works great. So I love to use a straight tail worm. The 4 to 6 inch robo worms are great on this, where you're just tight lining it and letting that bait fall. It works really well around standing timber. It works really well around floating docks. It's just a presentation that works great. If you're fishing on, say, up north here and you've got rock transition sand flats, that's a great way to fish this, where you're just throwing it out and letting it slowly fall and spiral to the bottom. Great presentation. But those are the 3 main ways that I really like to use my guppy head. It works phenomenally well for all of them. I think you'll be really impressed. If you haven't thrown the guppy head yet, I would encourage you to go check them out. We do have a bunch of different colors. This straight green color was specifically one that I requested so I could match it up with some of the flat worms that I like to throw, some of the straight tail worms for the tight lining process. The majority of the other heads are all going to be your basic minnow shaped minnow colored designs. My favorite being just the straight naked shad, which is just a clear coated lead, which gives it a very good natural presentation and matches most baits out there. But just an overall great bait. It's been one that I'm very happy to have been part of, very happy to have had some say in. I'm very excited to have my name attached to it. So check it out, the guppy head. I'll put the link in the video description. And like I said, right now they are on sale, so you can pick them up for a little bit cheaper, and they've got every color and size in stock. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, and stay tuned. We'll have another one coming out tomorrow.